This is your boy Najee from Cigar Talk, and today I got a very special guest, man. Seated to my right, hey, this is one of the biggest promoters in the game. We are here, big weekend, Crawford, matchroom. I got my man, Mr. Eddie Hearn.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Man, the weekend feels like some energy, man. I've been outside. I could kind of feel the buzz happening. For you, you do so many of these. Is this like feel the same, or does it feel a little different at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of got that Vegas fight week feel to it. You know, when you go into the MGM Grand and it's packed in there and there's posters up everywhere. Obviously, this is a Riyadh season event, and they do things very differently, not just with the quality of the card, but like you saw, the arrivals on Santa Monica Pier, the workout Santa Monica Pier, the show after, Chinese theatre yesterday, LA Live tonight, and it's flying. Tickets are sold out. I think it's one of the best cards, top to bottom, that we've seen. So many great fights that I'm looking forward to. And one of our guys having a crack at Terence Crawford, which is difficult to do, but we're in it. We're in it, and we like our shot.
Yeah, I mean, I saw you were talking some shit to him earlier. I like that, though.
Yeah, but I think that Terence, actually, I've always said, like, guys like Terence, guys like Shakur, they should really be like American superstars. I mean, firstly, park Shakur for a little bit. You got Terence, he's 34. He's a 3-division world champion, undisputed at 40, undisputed at 47, trying to become a 4-division world champion. But a lot of these guys, I don't think, aren't promoted correctly on the way up. And then they kind of find themselves not really wanting to be that kind of individual. So with Terence, you just have to get his personality to come out. And I think that sometimes in methodical interviews, in front of the same media, like you don't really get it. So I just try and poke him a little bit.
Just to see
I respect him a lot. It's never like, if you listen to everything I say about him, I can't praise him enough. Like as an individual, the way he lives his life, the way he's dedicated to the sport, even the way he raises his kids, you can see like the wrestling and the spirit, I love it. And you just got to bring that out. It's very important that in the content, you can showcase a fighter's personality. I really, I'm not going to take all the credit for his profile, but I really did that with Canelo Alvarez. It was really when we started interacting that he was speaking more English. He started doing it at the press conferences, and that changed a lot of stuff. Like a lot of the interactions that we had on social and digital and behind the scenes and the shoulder programming, people were like, and then you remember with Demetrius Andrade.
Oh, that's a classic moment.
Fuck you. And that was like, that was just him being comfortable in that environment,
Right.
So that's important for a fighter, and again, if we do work with Shakur, that'll be part of the process with him, making sure people can see the man behind the fighter.
I mean, I think you as Matchroom, you all have done a great job just in terms of being able to tell stories, right? Like I see a lot of original content and things that you're doing. When it comes to like building a star, right? Because we see, across the pond, you got Joshua, like you've done this, at the level you're selling out 90, 80,000. When it comes to building a star, what do you think that kind of takes today to actually like build a star?
I think firstly, you always build. It doesn't matter whether you're building a house or you're building a profile of a fighter, you build from the ground up, right? And what I mean from that is, you build in a home city, and then you build into key territories, and then you build into key cities where there's powerful media, and namely New York and Los Angeles. But first of all, what you do is you build in the home city. You let people tune in and see what this guy is creating. With Joshua, we took him on the road originally, but we're building him in the O2, then we're building him at Wembley. For people watching around the world, they're tuned in going, the fuck, what is this guy? This guy's a superstar. And, I feel like that's one of the mistakes maybe with Terence and even Deontay, is that they probably didn't go to Omaha and Alabama enough actually when they were coming through. Because when they did, it was wild. Like, and that's, and when we signed Boots recently, it's like, people go, he's good, Boots, he's amazing, but he just don't sell. Like, he don't sell in Philly. It's like, well, he ain't boxed in Philly for 6 years. How do you know? What do you mean he don't sell? No, he just doesn't. And then we do him in Philly and he sells 14,000. And it's like, that was in 3 months of work. Next time you go back, you probably fill the place. So you build him there and then you go. So, but again, it's like everything's about momentum, everything's about perception, everything's about interest, and just that's why you need a machine behind you that when you're sleeping, like it's very. I said to Shakur recently, I said, mate, you don't stop on Twitter.
Oh yeah, he's active on Twitter.
You've really got to like slow down because you can't fight these fights on your own. Do you know how draining that is? Like arguing on Twitter.
Right.
It's so draining. I mean, I don't think he'd do it in the same way when he's in camp, but like, you just got to focus your energy. Let us fight those fights. Let us push you. Let us argue with people. You know, let us push the fact that you did do a good gate in Newark. You did rate with the best numbers on ESPN this year.
Yeah.
You know, not you having to tell people. So, and that's what he was up against. It was him v the world. So, yeah, building. There's plenty of facets to building the profile of a fighter, but it always starts from the ground up.
How different are, you know, the Riyadh season events just from what you do, right? Obviously, Turki Alashikh is coming in, and I always like to say he's disruptive in a good way, right? Like he's disrupting the natural order of what boxing's been. But when we have these cards, right, like it's stacked top to bottom, like how different are these cards versus like when you're just doing a matchroom card?
I mean, look, if we were doing Crawford v Madrimov, you might see 1 or 2 of these fights on the card, and then some 8 and 10 rounders. Like, you know, you're investing a lot of money into the main event, and obviously he has the ability to spend the money and to build these cards. He is like, I think the perception of someone like Turki Alashikh is just this guy who just spends reckless money and doesn't really know what he's doing. It actually couldn't be further from the truth. He's very smart, but he's also a massive fight fan. Like a lot of these fights on, don't forget we had Ortiz against Tim Tszyu originally on this card. That fell through. Then you've got Jared Anderson against Martin Piccoli.
I love that.
Like, he makes those fights. Like, he made Ortiz Tszyu. He was like, that's a great fight, those two.
So he's the matchmaker.
He is, but you've got like myself, Spencer Brown, Frank Warren. We're like the 3 pillars sort of consultancy of making these fights. But he has no loyalty to us in the respect of he must use our fights. He uses any promoter. And that's something that's so beautiful about Riyadh season.
Absolutely.
You look at this card, they've got PBC fighters, you know, originally Golden Boy, top ranked matchroom. You know, so that's very unique in that respect. But he's the one, like, we were all in New York building this card, and he said in a meeting, I want Ortiz against Tim Tszyu. It's like what? It's like, no one fought that fight. You know, it's like one guy's with PBC, one guy's with Golden Boy, he's fighting him, and make the fight, you know, or speak to the guys, you know, next thing, Louis DeCubis on the phone, Oscar's on the phone, and there's a deal, you know. And what he's doing really well is he's sitting as the middleman to kind of bridge the gap between relationships that might be a bit fractured. So I don't even have to speak to Aaron or Oscar. I've just got to do my end of the deal, and he'll go and do the other end, and then it's done. Do you know what I mean? So in terms of the upgrade, not just the card, but like all the events and the way things are run and the money that's spent on fight week. I mean, you know, it's just a different kind of model. But it's really been great for boxing because you're seeing big fights getting made, and it's good for the ecosystem of boxing where boxing is hot again, and there's a lot of money in the sport, and people are enjoying watching these cards.
So did you imagine it like this? Like when can you take me back to your first conversation, right? Like you got this big guy from Saudi saying, I want to be a part of boxing. Eddie, let's talk.
It's actually a fascinating story. So I started promoting fights in Saudi in 2019 with Joshua against Ruiz.
I remember
that was the first fight in Riyadh. And it was done through a company called Skills Challenge. Then COVID hit. Then we went back and we did Usyk Joshua 2. We were negotiating Joshua Wilder with Skills Challenge, and all of a sudden His Excellency came along and he agreed to do Fury and Ngannou. And the shift of power of boxing in Saudi really moved from Skills Challenge to His Excellency. My relationship was with Skills Challenge. Right. So all of a sudden, there's a new kind of regime for boxing in Saudi, and I'm like, and I'm not in. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm with the old guys, you know, who, you know, we had a good relationship with as well. And then I probably did one of the most stupid things I've ever done, but unfortunately, if you ask me questions, I'm pretty honest. I really didn't speak favourably about Fury and Ngannou. Right? So he's putting on this event, and there's this big promoter who used to work with these other guys. Now he's kind of slagging off Fury and Ngannou. And slowly I'm coming down the order of flavour of the month, you know, with
so your competitive juices
and it's like, I can't help myself because I'm getting asked about it, and I'm just, I'll be honest with you, I think I'm trying to get Fury AJ, now he's fighting Ngannou, what's going on, you know, blah, 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 anyway. So then, when I realised that His Excellency is there to stay, I'm reaching out to him on social media and I'm saying, look, you're in London, let's meet. Like, scene And I'm like, oh no. And then a few people are saying to me, he's not happy with you, you know, everything that you said about Fury. And to be fair, when Fury and Ngannou happened, and it was actually a good fight, I was like, great event, blah, blah, but kind of like.
Sure. Clean it up.
And then thankfully, he isn't driven by ego and politics, and he wanted to do a fight with Anthony Joshua. So probably thought, okay, I'll meet Eddie Hearn. Mm-hmm. And I went to his suite in London, and I sat down, and he sort of said to me, I have to say, I didn't like what you said about Fury and Ngannou. And I'm like,
oh, so he kept it real.
Yeah. Oh no, he's always going to keep it real. Yeah. And I'm like, I didn't like it, but it ended up being amazing. So well done. You know, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, look, and he said to me, and I always tell the story, because like, he says, look, he said, we are a fast train. He said, do you want to be on the train, or do you want to be on the platform, waving at the train going past?
Oh, I like Turkey.
And I just went, choo choo. I was like, I'm on the train. Show me where you're going. Yeah, I'm on the train.
All aboard.
So, and since then, we've had a brilliant relationship, you know, and you know, we argue a little bit sometimes. Like he's unbelievably smart. Like the vision that he has, down to the fights, to the card, to the production, to the promos. You know, everything is strategic, and he's really, really smart, and he's got great energy as well, because he has a great love for boxing. Mm-hmm. So when you're around him, he's going, all right, let's do this, 5v5, you're fighting, and you're like, fucking yes. You know, like, and you're looking at these cards on the screen, and you're like, and he said, what do you think about that? And I'm like, honestly, I've never seen anything like that before.
Right.
And, you know, this event, it's a Riyadh season, Los Angeles show, but we're kind of like leading the promotion in terms of the logistics and everything around it. And it's an honor, you know, to be doing it. We're all working really hard. Who knows where it's going to go? Yeah. Who knows when it's going to end? But right now, the appetite is there. And I don't see it slowing down.
Well, salute to him. My neighborhood, we call him Big Turkey where I'm from. So salute to Big Turkey, man. He's doing it. So tell me, like, I want to know about the 5-on-5. Obviously, you had the 5-on-5. Eddie, you my man. Frank kicked your ass that day. Frank kicked your ass that day.
I said to myself after, like, I spoke to my dad, and don't forget, like, my dad and Frank Warren were like this for like 40 years, right? Mm-hmm. So he phones me the next day. He's like, what the fuck? You know, like, I said, listen, I spoke to you last night. You said that we were going to win. He said, yeah, but fucking 10-0, you know, with all the bonus points. And he's like, what? I said, look, if I'm going to lose, I'd rather lose 10-0 than lose by a point. He said, shut up. No, we got smashed. I mean, it was such a great concept. And by the way, all the fights were great, like on the night, the drama, everything, but nothing went our way. Like I thought Ray Ford won, that went against him. Then I'm like, Ammo was up against it against Shiraz. Then I'm like, don't worry, Hergovic will definitely beat Dubois. And he sort of come in, I looked at him in his shorts and was like, man, I don't even know if you're in shape. And then I'm like, Deontay, come on, save us some face. And he was like, you know.
Yeah, that was, hold on, but what do you think about the concept? Because I enjoyed that concept. I saw Escalated was like, I want to do one.
But I've said to Oscar so many times, like publicly, let's do a 5v5. I mean, we're on the same platform. Like, I don't know, it's weird. Like, I don't know, it could work so well, but us against PBC, Top Rank against Gold, like whatever, that is a narrative that I think people buy into. And, you know, you're not always, it's not just about putting your best from your roster in, it's about making good fights. So like, we didn't put in, I don't know, Bam or, you know, Jaron Ennis or Bivol or whatever, but we matched 50-50 fights, or what we thought. But most people did, but it was just a great concept, and we're already planning another one.
Okay, I like that. Tell me about, I want to know about the Zone, right? Because I know you were, to me, you were my inception to the Zone, and I remember you caught some flack just from the other promoters at the time, where they're like, everybody's like, oh, this other app or whatever, that's, you know, and I see it kind of growing. I guess what you're doing with the Zone, are they happy? Like, are they happy with just everything that's been going on?
It took a long time. Like, I think that when I look back, you know, we had a big budget when we started, and people sometimes criticise about the way that I entered with them, which was very vocal. Like, we're going to take over, we're going to be the home of boxing, blah, 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 blah. But I felt that, you know, no one knew what the Zone was. It just launched in America. We were coming over from the UK. I felt like our style of just coming out and not really saying anything and working quietly in the background, it's not for me.
Yeah.
Like, we've got to come out, we've got to make a statement. And it was really hard. Like, I laugh now when I look back at calls and meetings with, like, I remember sitting in a hotel with Mikey Garcia, and he's like, you know, so what? I'm like, it's the zone, right? And what is it? And it's like,
right.
Well, it's an app. Yeah. So he's like, so where do you find it on your TV? It's like, well, really, it's on the phone. And I could see him looking at me thinking, and the money was amazing.
Right, but still,
like, every time he fed back to, it might have been Hearn or whoever, they were going, are you crazy? Like, you can't go with this guy. It's an app. No one's going to be watching. No one knows what it is, blah, blah, blah. And look, they had a point when we started, but now, not just the fighters, but the promoters want to be on the app. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And it's amazing what it has become, you know, globally. Because don't forget, it's a global platform. Yeah. And it's the first ever platform globally for boxing, where it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can watch via DAZN. And, you know, every major fight is on there now. And especially with Riyadh season, even Canelo Alvarez, you know, that was a PBC on Prime. Yeah. It was also on DAZN, Jaime Munguia. And so is Edgar Berlanga. Yeah. So,
I didn't know the Berlanga fight's going to be on DAZN also?
Yeah, as well as Prime. So, but it's a very powerful platform to drive pay-per-views as well.
Good to know. Tell me about just building Matchroom, right? Like, obviously this thing that you inherited from your dad and took it to another space, right? I think it's always hard when you're in the shadow of somebody who did what your dad did. Did you kind of, like, what was your mind frame going into it? Like, when your dad stepped down, he was like, all right, Eddie, I'm gonna give you the keys. Yeah. This is your thing now. Can you tell me your mind frame in terms of really growing out the company?
Yeah, I think that probably the thing that I would have loved to have done, which I'll never be able to do, is to have made it from nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like my dad did. Because that must be just the most incredible feeling. Do you know what I mean?
It's like, a little overrated.
No, well, but it's like you can only ever in life play the hand that you're dealt, right? Yeah. But sometimes I'm at his house and I'm walking around his garden with him, and it's fucking miles of garden, like fields that he's bought, and he's just looking out and he's like, son, I can't, you know, and he's 76 and he's had money for many decades now. Yeah. But that feeling of like, if you knew where I come from and now I've got this, must be the greatest feeling in the world. So my challenge was only to take what we had and make it as big as he made it from nothing. Do you know, like that gap? Mm-hmm. And that was a big challenge because he'd already grown the business, you know, he'd taken it to limits. Yeah. And it all really stems down to the way that I was built. You know, don't forget that I'm not like generational wealth. My dad came from nothing. Yeah. As I was born, he was making money, right? Okay. So we had a nice house. And all,
yeah. But so hold on, were you rich? Do you say you grew up rich?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But he was still a hustler. Do you know what I mean? He was still from that area. Right. He was still. So when people talk about generational wealth, it's only really as it gets down the line where people become a little bit like, we weren't like, oh, hello, how are you? Like my dad was a rough guy, like, he weren't like,
you're a couple generations off.
But he's like, son, like, clip round, you know, like, fucking work, you work. Yeah. You clean my shoes, you clean my car, because I don't want you to be a spoilt rich kid just because you got a nice house. And I'm like, he hated people like me growing up. He would look at a kid with money at school and think, fuck, like, you know, why haven't I got, like, he had a chip on his shoulder. Yeah. So the way that he built me was you work like a dog every day. Do you understand? And you get given nothing without hard work, right? And that's what he instilled in me all the time. Yeah. And we were so competitive through sport. I was brought up on sport, playing sport all the time, winning. Like his thing was, you know, I'd come home after playing sport. How'd you go? You know, we lost. Fucking useless. What's the matter with you? It wasn't like, well done. Oh, keep trying.
He put it on.
It was like, you didn't win? Useless. Win tomorrow. You know what I mean? Right. So that's just how I was built. So my competition has always been him. You know, and when I was, just did a piece with Andre Ward, and I don't think he even realised. Like I said, you know, from 8 years old, I was around boxing, in changing rooms, carrying belts out, watching sparring, watching guys get injured, watching guys miss weight, watching guys, you know, doing their runs in the morning, sitting in the gyms from 8. Yeah. You know, so I grew up completely around, and not like just in some back gym. with Nazim Hamed, with Chris Eubank, with Frank Bruno, with Lennox Lewis,
Right.
with all these guys. Like, I've seen it all. So my education in boxing is like well over 3 decades deep. So, and my passion for the game is what gives me that drive. So, you know, when I left college, I went to work for a sports agency. I didn't want to work for my dad because everyone just said, oh, you're just going to go and work for your dad. You're going to go and work for it. It was only really after probably 8 or 9 years outside of the business that I was like, my passion is what my family have built. You know, like our business is everything to us. Like, and that's why I work like I do, because it's my life, you know? So the challenge for me was, when I was growing up, people didn't really know my name. I was just Barry's son. You know, at the show, oh, it's Barry's son, Barry's son. Like, and maybe that was chipping away in my mind subconsciously, where I was like, fuck you, no, I want him to be Eddie's dad. And we joke about that now. Because he goes like,
now they say that now?
Yeah, because he was, when I was growing up, people knew who he was. Like, don't want to sound like but my profile in the UK is massive. Like, everyone knows who I am. I walk down the street,
and they know,
everyone knows who I am. Right?
I got to go to UK with you, man.
But he was like, so it's become a little bit out of control, you know, but my passion is taking the business to levels that he couldn't take it to. And that was why I always had the bit on my shoulder, the chip on my shoulder to come to America. Because he never done it. Do you know what I mean? And he never did a big TV deal in America. He did a couple of shows, Naz against Barrera and other bits and pieces, but he never was the lead promoter in America. Doing what I'm doing. And, you know, but as he always says to me, I'm a Hall of Fame promoter. You're not. I said, come on, that comes over time. Do you know what I mean?
I don't have enough time to prove it.
Yeah, I'm only just getting started. So, yeah, so we're an interesting family, a special family, but just a competitive family.
I read a story that I guess your dad's unorthodox methods of teaching you, right, with the boxing ring, right? Like, y'all had a real boxing match. So, like, because I'm reading the story and I'm just trying to get it.
A lot of people didn't like that story. Like,
I loved it. I'm like,
you do. Yeah, but weird because we're all the same, you know, like. So I wanted to be a fighter, really. I mean, don't forget, if you're 8 or 9 and you're hanging around with all these greats and you're watching, like any kid, you'd be like, yeah.
Right.
So I joined an amateur boxing club when I was about 11 or 12. And I actually had 3 fights, right?
Did you win?
Yeah, but they were what they call gym bouts. So before you get carded, you go to a big show with another gym, you all weigh in, but they don't actually give a winner because it's like, that comes when you get, so it's like friendly, but of course I fucking won all, right? But they made, my dad, I didn't know this until I asked him after the fight, they asked my dad asked them, don't call him Eddie Hearn, call him Eddie Hills, because they'll bash him if they find out he's my son, right? And I didn't know that till after.
You just won because you're dead.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I had these fights. It was a great experience for me. Like, I was okay. I can fight a little bit, but no real ability. But I always really wanted to be a fighter. But then when I got to 14, 15, 16, I was a bit flash, really. I was a bit cocky. I was quite a big guy for my age, like, and my dad was Barry Hearn, so I was like, you know, and he picked me up in like
feeling
a
yourself,
limo.
like,
Yeah, of course, right? It wasn't my fault, but looking back, I was a little bit cringe. And he was like, look, when you get to 18, I need to take you down the gym and give you a beating, because you need to understand, like, you're from this background, and obviously I'm from this background, and I need to see what you've got in you, because it's important to me. So I'm like, yeah, I said, I'll fuck you up when I get to 18. Oh, we're like that, do you know what I mean? I said, when I get to 18, anyway, got to 16, and I was like 6'1", I was already boxing, do you know what I mean? So he's like, look, rather than wait till 18, do you want to do it now? So I'm like, yeah.
So you were already prepared for this? Like, he's been telling you for a while, this is going...
It was quite a thing. Like, he said, you will get, like, I will kick the fuck out of you when we get in there. Anyway, so we're 16, so we go down the matchroom gym where all the fighters trained, and we put on some small gloves, and basically, the bell goes, he comes out, and I'm just like tucking up and looking at him. And he's like,
hold on, are you scared? Like, what's your mentality?
I'd boxed, so I wasn't like, you know, I knew how to fight, so... But
I mean, scared because it's
still
your dad,
and he's like, a big man, you know. And I'm looking at him, and he's like round the side of the head, and I'm.
So he's really throwing.
Oh, big time! Like, he's not the kind of guy, you know, like when you play soccer in the garden as a kid,
and they let you score.
Oh, never. He's tipping him around the corner. Do you know what I mean? Like, so anyway, and he's like, bomb. So anyway, get through the round, like. Anyway, I start hitting him to the body, and I think it was the second round. I hit him with a left hand to the body, and he went down. And I was like, fuck. Anyway, it's like got up just. There's all people in the gym.
Yeah.
Anyway, 30 seconds later, done it again. And he sort of rolled over and couldn't get up. And he was like, I thought, how embarrassing. Well, he couldn't have been happier, honestly.
Yeah.
He was like, he couldn't tell enough people. I mean, we didn't have social media back then, but if we did, he would have put it all over. He was telling the media, my son fucking knocked me out. Oh, he's proper. He's one of us. Do you know what I mean? And that was like, that was his form of education, you know? Because I feel so strongly about what boxing can give an individual. As in, you know, right now, there's problems all over the world, but particularly in the UK with the younger generations. You know, there's no discipline, there's no respect. There's kind of no regiment to your lifestyle. You talk about mental health, physical health, winning, losing. Like these are all the things that come through boxing. And the governments don't understand it at all because they don't experience it and they don't. And you know, if you go to a local boxing gym, the kids in that gym don't really get into trouble. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but they don't know that. They don't understand it. So, you know, I've been a massive advocate of boxing. And even, you know, I came from money. What it did for me. Look, my daughter goes boxing, right? 3 nights a week.
Okay.
What it's done, like, changed her confidence, everything, like, really changed her personality. Yeah. And also, she comes from money.
Right.
But when she's in a boxing gym, everyone's the same. Do you know what I mean? Different walks of life, you know, different faiths, you know, different backgrounds, different problems. But you're all a family, you're a community in that club, you know? And I think they're so underrated in terms of what they can do.
What made you gravitate to boxing, right? Because from what I understand, matchroom was more than boxing, right?
Yeah.
There's like darts, there's like snooker, there's all the other.
It's boxing.
Yeah.
You know, but like, it's, you know, you imagine being 7, 8, 9, yeah, and you're like, you know, what I would do every night is I would sit in my dad, you know, was traveling a lot as I am with my kids, right? But when he was home, he was full on. He was always like, he would give me his time, but then when it got to like 8 o'clock, he'd go into the study in his office. Then he'd be on the phone. And I would just sit in the study listening because he's my hero, right? I just wanted to be around him. He's on the phone to Aaron, Don King, Frank Warren. Fuck you, fuck that, fuck you, you know, boom, boom, fucking get, you know, tell them fuck you, you know, someone else, make the fight, fuck them, fuck, blah, blah, you know, and you're like, wow, wow. You know, I remember we went to Hong Kong. My dad made Tommy Morrison against Herbie Hyde. Right, for the WBO world title with Aaron. And the people from the government who were putting the money up never put the money up. And they were supposed to pay, and it got to the weigh-in, they haven't put the money up. Right. So my dad said, I'm not doing the fight because I'm not being responsible for the fighters not getting paid. Don't worry, you'll have the money on Monday. Fuck that. The contract says this, I'm not getting, and it was the arguments, and you know, I'm like 11 in Hong Kong.
Right,
and I'm
just
like watching, you know, like, and that's just the business side. Right. Then you got me in the changing room for, you know, I'm like Eubank or Naz or, you know, and I'm bringing a belt out for fighters, and it's just the most addictive sport. We're all totally addicted to boxing. For sure. Look at us. We're fucking, we're perverts for boxing, aren't we? And it grabs you, and it's the worst, like the way to describe it is, it's the worst business to be involved with. It really is. Fucking dogs, fucking backstabbing,
it's the jungle, it's the
bullshit,
jungle.
lies, rumors, fucking like, you know, social media, but it's also so gravitating and it's so addictive, and it's such, for me, it's the best sport in the world. And like those nights where you share that glory with a fighter, nothing like it. And that's why when you ask me about darts and snooker, I'm involved in all of that. But this is always boxing.
Okay. I want to talk about, you said something interesting the other day. I remember when Devin Haney was talking about the purse bid that was supposed to come up, and they were like, yo, you know, I feel like Matchroom should have bid. And you were like, well, you know, you're a free agent. You know, you have your own promotional company. You should have did the bid. I thought that was so interesting because a lot of fighters, you know, they have promotional companies and different things like that. I guess my question is, when it comes to a fighter with their own promotional company, do you feel like that's something that's advantageous? Are they doing this thing the right way? Not Devin specifically.
The reality is fighters' promotional companies are just soulless businesses that actually don't really exist, right? So what they really want is they want their name or their logo or their business on the backdrop, right? They want a little bit of involvement in the show if they can get a couple of their fighters on. So, but they want to take no financial risk of the show at all. And it's like when you're negotiating a purse, it could be Devin, could be someone else, and they say, "Oh, I want this." I said, "No. That's like, here's the P&L from the show, right? This is the money in the show. Well, I don't care what's in that. I want that much. Okay, well, if you want, we'll do the show together. And if it doesn't hit the numbers that you want, we'll go 50-50 on the losses. Right. Because you're co-promoter, right? Right. Devin Haney Promotions. Right. No, what we really want is we want Devin Haney Promotions on the backdrop and a couple of our fighters on. So you're not really a co-promoter. Right. But I get it. Like, and I think it's good to have your own identity and you know, your kind of position in the game. But in the situation of a Sandor Martin purse bid, really, if you want to be a player in the game and you back yourself, you've got to bid in that instance as Devin Haney Promotions. Yeah. But you don't want to bid. And why do you not want to bid? Because you know the show's going to lose a couple of $1 million. So you don't want to bid, but you want me to bid. And you want me to lose a couple of $1 million on a show. Yeah. Now, I'll do it if we're together, we've got a long-term plan, and you've pledged yourself to me, and I won't let you down, right? And what Devin did when he moved to Top Rank, he had to do that. And to be fair to him, he tried to stay with us, and you know, we were blocked on that deal, and I said to him in the end, you've got to take this deal. Yeah. Then he come back, but when he came back, he did a one-fight deal, and I think that was smart. Yeah. But then the downside of the free agency is that you don't have the financial security and the long-term backing of a promotional company that in instances like that go, no, we're going to win this bid. Yeah. We're going to fight Sandor Martin, we're going to get you win, then we're going to go into a massive fight. Right. And I spoke to his lawyer the night before and I said, look, come back to me. They never come back to me. And I'm like, I didn't want to do the fight. Who wants to see that fight? No one. So what we expected to do a fight that no one wants to see is just so you can get paid. It doesn't work like that unless we have a contractual obligation to do so. Yeah,
I like asking these business questions because a lot of the fans, you know, they love the business of boxing.
I think these interviews are good because the fans get to understand, and hopefully I can break it down quite simplicitly. But I'll always answer the questions because it's black and white. Like, you know, I've got no issue talking about the Haney purse bid because I'll tell you exactly our reasons, and I think when I explain it, most people will go, makes sense.
So do you as a promoter, are short-term deals things that you don't want to? So I work in music. I work for Sony Records. So, you know, in a similar way, I sign artists and I kind of get how doing short-term deals is not the most advantageous for the company per se. But when you're doing deals like short-term, 1 fight, 2 fights, is that something that like, are you against it or do you just do it?
Every situation is different, right? Yeah. Firstly, what I would say is you don't always want a long-term financial obligation to a fighter that may not generate those numbers, right? Number two, you don't really want a short-term financial obligation when a fighter has loads of potential and you could do a great job and then they could fuck off and leave you after you've made that investment. Right. My third line is, I think I'm good enough and I think once you work with me, you won't want to leave. So I roll the dice that once you work with me on a fight-by-fight deal or a 2-fight deal, you'll stay. Right. Now that's very risky, as you know, because someone might come along with more money, someone's not that loyal, maybe you don't get on, and you spend some money, you lose some money, and they go. Do you know what I mean? So generally, we will do a 3-fight deal with some options, but like Shakur's a good example at the moment where if I'm Shakur, I'm not sure I want to do a long-term deal. Yeah. Really, like I want to have the fluidity to fight Tank on PBC or whatever it might be. Maybe I'll do a deal via someone to work on a Saudi show. Yeah. Maybe I'll do a homecoming in Newark. Maybe I need a fight with Teofimo Lopez. I don't know. So that's when you need the fluidity to come with the contract as well. And that's why, I said in a lot of the interviews that if I did work with Shakur, he would have the freedom to do those deals. I just want to be on the team. Do you know what I mean? Because I want to work with great fighters and I know I can do an amazing job for him. So I think every deal is different, but most of the time I'll roll the dice that once you work with us, you'll want to be with me for the rest of your career. Yeah. And we're in that transition with people like Boots now. 3-fight deal, 1 fight in. I think at the moment, we couldn't be happier. Right. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. We've proved ourselves. Now we've got to prove ourselves again. And then when the renewal comes up, he goes, I'm not going anywhere else. Yeah. Guys, you guys are the best. I'm with you. Yeah. we've done that with Bam. You know, we've done that with, I mean, AJ's probably the best example, probably 4 extensions, and now a lifetime contract deal that he signed on his last one. So, you know, you gain the trust of a fighter, but that's a dangerous game because there isn't a lot of trust and loyalty in the sport.
Sure. How difficult has it been for you to penetrate the American market, right? Because, like, you know, my audience, a lot of people watch this. You know, I have a lot of casuals that watch this show, a lot of urban audience, you know, they're all watching. And it seems like now the perception of you is growing, I feel like, in the community a little bit now that, like you said, Boots and Shakur's been talking, a couple guys. How hard has it been for you to make that transition from just like, you know, overseas across the pond to like marketing and promoting
I think
over here?
Pretty more difficult than I thought. I always back myself, and I think I just probably presumed that I was going to go in and dominate. Like, in my mind, when I got that DAZN deal, everyone was fucked. Right. And they fought a lot harder than I expected. And people spent a lot more money than I expected, which was great for actually the fighters and everybody. But I think the biggest challenge of which we get now is just understanding the country, the states, the cities, because what works in London works in Manchester. Right? That's the UK. I've got it. I know it. I've got it on complete lock. Right. I know the fan. I'm the fan. I'm from the UK. I'm that guy. I'm the customer. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So over here, what works in downtown Los Angeles or BMO doesn't work in Philly, right? And what works in Philly don't work in San Antonio. And what do you know what I mean? So, and it's understanding different pockets, and I'm really starting to get now, like if you look at our gates, people don't talk about this a lot. We're doing big gates, you know, we did 9,000 for Jesse Bam Rodriguez against Estrada. We sold out in Puerto Rico with Subriel Matisse, 8,000. We did 14,000 for Boots. We did 16,000 in San Francisco for Haney Prograis. Like, people are selling tickets for big fights in Vegas, but outside of that, they're not really doing those numbers. And I'm just understanding now the cities, like building those fighters within the city. You know, we talked about Crawford and we talked about Deontay Wilder. Like, you were in Philly, I think, for Boots. Like, look at it, like, why would you take a fighter from Philadelphia and fight him in Los Angeles or in Missouri or like what? Like, this is his home. These are his people. This is his city. And if you can't, as a city, get behind Boots, fuck, you got no chance. Like, so that's really what the move is right now, whether it's Boots in Philly, whether it's Jesse in San Antonio or Phoenix, whether it's Pacheco in Los Angeles, you know, all of these guys you can sell in their key towns and markets. And we're really starting to get it now. And I think people like, you know, when you talk about people see me now and talk about, I think people like all this back and forth.
We love
it. You know, like
we
Crawford and like when Jared Anderson kind of stuck it on me the other day. Like, and also, I've been around. Like, maybe 10 years ago, when Jared come over to me and kind of like, you know, maybe I would have gone, oh fuck, like, you know. But like, you become a little bit emotionless in this game. Where I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, you know, what's he gonna do? Knock me out? If so, fuck it. Do big numbers. Do you know what I mean? So, like, I don't have any fear of it. And I think a lot of these guys, I think the greatest thing that's happened, when I came in, people pushed the narrative so hard that I didn't know what I was doing. I weren't a good guy. I was a snake. I was this, I was that. And when they actually get to know me, I think they quite like me. And they go, oh, he's actually, like the amount of them gone, he's actually pretty cool. It's like, guys, I've always been pretty cool. But those guys told you, whatever you do, don't go near Eddie Hearn. Whoa, he's untrustworthy. When you say untrustworthy, speak to any fighter and say, has Eddie Hearn ever lied to you? Has he ever not paid you? Has he ever made you wait for money? Has he ever not fulfilled his contract? And the answer is no, 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 no. So there's, just because I like to fuck around in interviews and stir things up and build the narrative and promote a fight, what does that mean I'm a snake? You know, if I'm talking about one of my fighters fighting Gervonta Davis, of course I'm going to talk up my guy. Of course I'm going to say that I'm not sure about Gervonta and this and that and that. And that makes him go, it's like Jared. You know, he said to me, I'll shake your hand because it's business, but I heard what you say. And it's like, what? I said it's a 50-50 fight. Yeah, it's not a 50-50. No, but I'm telling you.
It's my guy.
No, but also, it's not even my guy.
Yeah.
I think it is a 50-50 fight.
Yeah.
And I said to him, if you're special...
Cole is good, though.
Yeah, but if you're special, like a few people say you are, you'll win.
Right.
But if you're not, you'll get beat. It's like, fuck, well, you know, it's
Right.
like... But people love that. Like, the views are massive. Like, that interaction with me and Crawford did huge numbers. And it's great for Terence.
That's what I said.
Terence
you getting it. You said you hit him with the no Diddy. All I said, Eddie's getting it. The Boots got it. Boots gave
I
you a
just
little...
learned that in Philly. Do you know what I mean? And I was sitting in that press conference going, what the fuck's going on here? You know, but people, that's the world that we live in. And, you know, like people like Crawford, that's what I said about Crawford and Canelo. They've all got big personalities.
Yeah.
But you're not just going to get it out of them. It's like, so, how's your camp been?
Right.
It's like, camp's been good. God, that guy's boring. No, he's not really. Watch him play darts. Watch him fuck around. Watch him, you know, ride his horses. Watch him drink tequila. Watch him go around, you know, in his fast cars. Like, there's a story to tell.
Yeah. I want to just talk quickly. I know we got to get ready to wrap up, but we mentioned Shakur earlier. Obviously, like, you know, he's been showing you a lot of love on social media and things like that. I believe he's out here as well, coming to the fight tomorrow. Something, I guess, you know, him and Gervonta, that's the big fight at 135 everyone wants to see. I kind of liken it to how with AJ and Wilder, to where if you marinate something too long, it may not work out the way that you want it to work. How do you know, what's the way to kind of build that fight to the point that you're maximizing revenue versus
I think Shakur's in a good spot at the moment because I think there's a lot of people talking about him. You know, he's going to have a few offers. Hopefully he comes with us, but it's got to work for us and him. But when you look at Tank's options, the only thing he can really do is move to 40. Like without Lomachenko, which I thought was a great fight actually, and now that's why Lomachenko, I think, has just gone, no, I'll leave it. And then they're probably like, fuck. So probably Tank has to fight the winner of Cruz against Valenzuela
tonight.
Maybe for the title at 140. You know, he's already
especially
beat Cruz.
If Pitbull wins,
but Pitbull's becoming a bigger star, you know.
Sure.
So I get that. But then, like, you look at I don't think Tank's really going to want to be up at 140 against those bigger guys. Like, I think he'll pick and choose the right one. But I think Shakur's in a good spot where, you know, if I'm Shakur, I chase the Zepeda fight. Right? And I keep building my brand into the Tank fight next year. And that's a big fight when it happens. And listen, it's one of the best fights in boxing.
Sure.
But at the moment, if I'm Tank and I'm negotiating the Shakur fight, I'm probably giving Shakur a deal that will look very small next year if he's promoted right and has a couple of good wins. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because that fight could be like Spence Crawford style money, or even Garcia and Tank, which done like 1 million buys, you know, and it's a great fight.
What do you say to convince fighters of Shakur's caliber to come with you? Is there anything you say, or
you need a plan? Like, you can't. Like, I think if you said to Shakur, if everyone offered you the same deal, who would you go with? The answer would be Eddie, and that would be the same for Canelo and guys like that. But just because they like me or they like the way I talk up my fighters, if I haven't got a plan and we haven't got a strategy, it's irrelevant. So I think that honesty is the best thing. Like I said when I met Shakur and Jay Prince and Josh Dubin, I was very open. I said, guys, we need to work as a team. There'll be some situations where maybe Tank won't want to deal with me. So Jay, you go in and you deal with those guys.
Right.
Yeah, and we'll get a deal done as a team. This isn't like the Eddie Hearn show, leading the ship. This is all of us working together, people with a lot of expertise. And if I'm Shakur Stevenson and I've got Jay Prince, Eddie Hearn, Josh Dubin, you know, I'm good. Do you know what I mean? I'm thinking, fucking hell, I've got the dream team here. You guys do your thing. But that's where we have to work internally to do the right deals. And we have to navigate this little bit, because it's not, I don't think this is just as simple as a 3-fight deal with Eddie Hearn on DAZN. All right, who are you going to fight?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, we'll try and make this a Zepeda fight. Okay, what happens if that don't fight? All right, we do a voluntary defence. Okay, 1. But then what about, you don't want 3 voluntary defences.
Right.
I mean, when we had Demetrius Andrade, it was tough. No one wanted to fight him.
Yeah.
And he wasn't a draw. So it's like you can't generate the revenue. Boots is in a similar position, but luckily is a draw.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because Boots is that good. No one's going to want to fight Boots.
Right.
But they will do if they get paid. Well, how do you pay them if you don't generate the money? And that was the problem we had with Demetrius. But we don't have that problem with Boots. And Shakur sells a lot better than people think.
Yeah.
Did a 9,000 gate in Newark, done the biggest numbers on ESPN, but they don't spin that narrative because he's left.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So if I'm Shakur, I need a good team of people around me. I need to be promoted properly, but I need that plan.
Yeah. Last question. Obviously, Boots is out here as well, you know, coming to watch Crawford. That's another big one that we as fight fans want to see. I even asked him, I interviewed Boots maybe a couple weeks ago, did really well. And, you know, I asked him, I said, you know, when Crawford says he doesn't want to fight you because he wants to make mega fights, I only have a few fights left, do you respect it? And he's like, you know, I respect it, get your money, just don't talk about me like I don't want the fight.
Yeah.
How do you, you know, you working alongside Turki Alashikh, who's made it clear that's a fight that he wants. Crawford, who is his own businessman and does what the fuck he wants to do. How do you make a fight like that come to fruition?
Do you know what? It's so hard. Sometimes, this situation, I've been in it 100 times, where you've got like a pound for pound star and you've got this young fighter coming through that is, in my opinion, already a pound for pound star, but could be the next Terence Crawford, right? And it's like, it's almost like you've got to earn the shot at me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And
I've heard fighters say that before.
This is a very, very, very regular thing.
Yeah.
Why should I give him the opportunity? Who's he ever fought? Well, the world wants to see it. Fuck the world. Like, tell him to go out and beat so-and-so. Now, that's generally because they know this kid's good. But what they're saying is, if I beat him, what does that give me?
Right.
And if I get beat, fuck, I've just given him the keys to the kingdom.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So that's when the money's got to be big enough. Now, His Excellency really wants Crawford Canelo.
Right.
I don't think that fight happens.
I don't think so either.
Because I think Canelo will give him the number, and I think it'll be an unrealistic
200 million.
Yeah, or even if it's 130, 150, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't work, right? So His Excellency is going to be looking for other options. Now, one is Boots, one might be Tim Tszyu, one might be Errol Spence, one might, Fundora, one might, you know, whatever. But the reality is if you can't make, or Virgil Ortiz, if you can't make Crawford Canelo, in my opinion, the biggest fight out there is Boots versus Crawford, right? But ultimately, I say Terence will decide. I mean, His Excellency will decide because Terence will take the fight for the money.
Right.
Like all these, it's the same situation for everybody. But I know Boots wants that fight.
Yeah.
But he's got to get past matchroom off first.
Right.
You know, we
Right.
said this before when we had Canelo Bivol. You know, who's he going to fight after this? Like, whoa. Let's see the Bivol fight first.
Yeah.
Same thing, moving up in weight, Eastern European fighter, extremely well schooled.
Yeah. All right. Well, Eddie, listen, man, thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thank you very much.
I really appreciate it. Great episode of Cigar Talk. My man, Eddie Hearn. We out of here.